Welcome, foolish mortals, to the Great British Mickey Waffle. I am your host, perhaps not your ghost host, but do kindly step all the way in, please, and make room for everyone. There's no turning back now. It's November 2023, and who would have thought we would actually have managed to get to the threshold of this amazing achievement? This is our 99th Happy Haunt, or maybe it's that just waffles. But anyway, we do have room for one more. With me are Ben, Becca and Claire as we board our Omnimover and welcome a very special guest before we reach that 100th show, and rather fitting that we can actually welcome back a long-standing friend of the show and actually our very first guest way back in May 2020. And like all good friends, keeps coming back for more. So be that on our live shows with colleagues from Here with the Magic or our very special Ted Lasso shows, it is an absolute pleasure to welcome back Jason Canapp. What's happening, Jason?
Yeah, well, thank you.
It's good to see
so
you.
Much. I'm excited. It's 99.
Yeah,
99 shows. That's a lot of shows. I mean, I must admit, I was a little disappointed. I was a little disappointed to find that I hadn't been invited to the Shows Your Pumpkins show. But
there was sufficient pumpkins on show that day. So
this is good. This is good. I can't.
You can always show us your pumpkins.
Yeah. Well, okay, I appreciate that. That's right. It is the Great British Mickey Waffle Show, and I should say also that I couldn't help but notice that since I've been on since I was on the first show, your bookings have gotten much better since then. Much better. So,
that's also true.
Yeah. So congratulations on that.
Isn't it right, Claire? You said you have to set the bar low.
No. We were just testing the water.
I think that's a really good way of describing it.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, definitely.
We were all holed up. We couldn't go anywhere.
Yeah,
it's quite amazing.
I was bored to come up with a bunch of new ideas.
And actually, when you think back to some of those times, and actually having so many guests, and if anyone, I don't think we've actually counted some of the live shows that we did, and some of the actual mayhem that we actually had on a Friday night when it was just like it just went completely bananas when we were live and went for hours and hours and hours, and I don't think we can actually physically do that anymore. So if anyone has missed out on that previously, go back to our website. The shows are there. Dig deep, because actually it's worth listening to and watching purely for the graphics that Ben actually created for each of those shows, because that was an art form. It was
you can tell how bored I was during lockdown.
Form totally in itself, and
we had no idea what was coming.
No,
like Ben would, we'd be in the middle of talking, and Ben would just like slide in some random graphic or video. We'd be like, "Where's that come from?"
That's because you all forgot to turn up to the planning meeting earlier that
week. I'm gonna flip it on its side as well, because because actually during that time, and I know Jason, you did an awful lot yourself, and I think all of us here are very, very fortunate that we actually had an invite to appear on your show in different guises and with different people and things like that, and certainly for myself, it was actually one of the most fun times, because you'd stay up until really late of a Thursday. You'd actually be watching and listening, and everyone in my house would be well, why are we so late to bed? Well, it's not my fault, it's Jason's fault, you see. So it became quite a thing in our household, you know. And plus the show I was, there was one show I was on, and I was in a hotel room because we were up in Newcastle, and it was after lockdowns and things like that, or maybe I'm not even sure, between lockdowns, whatever. And actually, I was doing some training for the job I now do. And I remember it was this room that just looked like you were in Haunted Mansion. Just the colour scheme in the room and everything. I think people in the chat actually picked up on it. And I was like, oh my word, I couldn't actually be in a better place to actually be on your show. And it was just like, yeah, you absolutely nailed that one. So,
it's been crazy that I feel, number one, for those who can't see, I'm wearing my Doug nice shirt from Up, because I felt like this is the most appropriate shirt to wear for being with you guys, because the Wafflers were like, I had just met you and I loved you immediately, like immediately. And I think that we hit the ground running, I think, pretty quickly in terms of friendship and shenanigans and other things that we can't talk about. And so I think we have had this great relationship over the years, and I appreciate you guys so much for not just all the fun and the conversations, but also the important work that you guys do, and the important. And I've learned so much from you guys as well, which I know may be hard to believe, maybe not so hard to believe anymore now that you've gotten to know me. But it's one of those things where people, I don't know, I think people assume that because I'm all into Disney and I do the Disney videos and I live practically at Walt Disney World, that I know everything there is to know. And it's just not true. But you guys actually do a really nice job of diving into the details and teaching me a thing or two. And then Claire usually likes to rub it in when she finds out.
Claire likes to talk about concrete, which before the Great British Mickey Waffle, I didn't know how much you could find out about Disney concrete.
Oh, and trash cans.
Yeah.
Disney concrete.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The pavement. It's important.
Okay. Yeah, you don't. Yeah, don't keeps you from falling through.
Well.
Mm-hmm.
There you go. That's more shows. That's more shows anyway. That we can send you towards, Jason. That's it. Even better.
I mean, we'll revisit that.
It's an educational program, because your first show, wasn't it like the Millennium Falcon is not an airplane or something like that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, yes.
But it was on tin cans into everyone's ears and things like that. The sound was just so poor that I don't think any of us can actually listen to that show, and we don't want to, because actually the progress that we've made, or progress, I'll just alter that a bit, just given the current company I'm keeping, but the progress that we've made is actually quite astounding, and that is so amazing. I think you've hit the nail on the head, and I'd love to claim. I know Claire would love to claim all the credit for that, but that surely goes out to Ben. I hasten to add. It's just like, it wasn't me, Gov, honest.
I just want to say thank you to OpenReach for fixing Claire's internet.
Right.
Yeah, most definitely.
Only took 3 years, but now
John's
it's
turn.
absolutely amazing.
It's rock solid.
Yeah, it's mine. It's mine.
Incredible.
It's dodgy at the moment.
And one of the funniest things from our first show, because we don't really want people to go back to listen to it, is when we spoke about the Avatar sequels. And it was only last December.
Yeah.
One of them came out.
Was that the first show?
That was the first show.
Shut up.
Wait.
We spoke about the Avatar sequels.
Years from our talk about it.
Because surely there must have been, right? Surely there must have been. They wouldn't have created an entire land around this movie that had been out a long time ago.
And we had talked about all the names that had been released at the time for like the 6 sequels that are planned. It was like, if it's going to take us this long to get the first sequel out, I don't know, I'm going to be retired by the time when the last one's out.
Mm-hmm.
They'll have redone the land for something else by then.
Yeah.
Can you imagine James Cameron? Can you imagine in his house if he's asked like a honeydew, like, hey, can you fix such and such? Like, Not a chance that's happened. We all know those people. Some of us are those people where like that one thing has been broken. There's like that drawer that needs to get fixed, but it's just been broken for 6 years. And you know, you mean to do it, you intend to do it, but you need that one tool and you don't have that tool. And then every time you go, like you forget to get the tool so it doesn't get fixed. And it just becomes a thing. And now it's a thing. So you don't actually want to fix it because if you fix it, it's like It's a Wonderful Life with the whole like banister thing. Anyway, I feel like James Cameron, his house has just got to be falling down. Can you imagine? Yeah, I'll get around to fixing that. 12 years later, the table leg gets fixed. Like, really?
He changes the bulb in the downstairs toilet and stuff like that.
It's been off for a decade.
Right. First, I have to learn to swim. It just needs you to fix the sink.
I need to understand how water works. And it's...
You made a whole film out of it. He'll be fine.
Yeah.
Right. Anytime I've taken a long time to work on something, there's some Here with the Magic projects that are still in like the production folder. They've been in production folders for a year and a half. Right. And I'm like, oh yeah, I'm going to get to it. It's going to happen. We're going to, yeah. And anytime I feel bad about myself for not really making progress on it, I just think of James Cameron.
That's probably a good way of doing it.
Do you know what? I'm going to have to use that going forward. That's a great idea.
I'm learning to hold my breath first.
I'm going to jump. I'm going to jump
Pandora
in there though, Jason, because you've actually set that up really nicely. Because probably one of those things that is certainly in our sort of dream kind of category of things that we want to do is actually that trip to Disneyland, and you've just managed to have a nice little time away there and things like that. Yeah. Go on, tell us and share with us your thoughts about Disneyland, because actually that for me is kind of a pinnacle of Disney, and is it worth it? Is it, just tell us. Go on, share with us, and we'll just feel immensely jealous for the next 45 minutes or so of the show,
No, I won't wax poetic for 45 minutes.
You can if you want.
I think if you're a Disney Parks fan, you have to go to Disneyland. Period. And it's not just because, it's the original park and, that's where Walt walked and that sort of thing. It's because it's like going home. It's like going home. I went to Disneyland for the first time in, I think it was 2012, maybe, or something like that. 2000. So I went most of my life not going to Disneyland, going to Disney World. And I love Disney World. Love it. Disneyland, the moment I stepped in to the park, it felt like I had not only been there before, but it felt like this was the home park. There is something about it in terms of its spiritual value that this is where Walt walked. This is what inspired everything that we've come to know and love in terms of Disney parks. This is, there's a lot of like amazing creative energy in that space, right? But there's just this inherent beauty to it as well that I don't know. I haven't been to Disneyland Paris. I haven't been to Tokyo Disneyland or Shanghai or any of those places, so I can't compare. But I can tell you that like seeing actual trees, full-grown real trees in Town Square, benches everywhere. If you want to sit down on a bench and just take it all in, like John, we like to sit there. Absolutely. Let the magic come to us, right? Like you can do it anywhere you want, John. Like everywhere, there's benches everywhere. The moment you walk in, there are characters, and I don't just mean like obscure, like the Fab Five characters all there in Town Square, just kind of walking around. There's some cues here and there for them, but nothing like you see in other parks. There are characters that just literally wander around various lands, especially Fantasyland, where you look, you almost think that, wait, is this like some kind of weird cosplay thing going? No. Just Mary Poppins just walking by. She's just walking by. There's Peter Pan. He's just hanging out by the fountain. You can go strike up a conversation with him if you want, because he's not talking to any people. He's just waiting for people to come by. It's incredible. The kinetic energy of the space is like nothing I've seen in any other Disney space. The cars, the vehicles going up and down the street. Somehow, people move out of the way. No one gets run over. Which is quite amazing, because you, at any given time, you could have 3, 4, 5 vehicles, between Town Square and the hub, moving to and from. It's just crazy, and it just works. And then it, because of the compactness of it all, Disneyland has more attractions than Magic Kingdom, and it seems somehow fits it all into this footprint. It's just incredible to like try to imagine, like, how would I put this together? Well, I couldn't have. If you stand like in Fantasyland and you have Alice in Wonderland to your left, and you can see Small World, the Small World we all imagine in our heads. That's that Small World. You can see that in the distance. The teacups happening. That's going on. You have the Matterhorn over to your right. That's happening. Oh, and by the way, honk honk! Here comes a monorail by. Like, all of this is happening at the same time. It's just incredible. But I got to tell you, I did something for the first time on this last trip I had never done before. I rode Casey Jr.'s train. I don't know if you guys have ever experienced that or seen it. I have poo-pooed it. I would have never done it myself because, it's really built for children, it seems like, and I don't want to be that strange middle-aged guy who is on the train with all the children. But I had an opportunity with the friends that we were with out there to climb aboard at night. It was one of the last things we did, and got in the, I don't know if it was like the monkey cage. It was a cage of some sort. It was like one of the animal cages. And it was incredible. I mean, incredible. I have a video I can send to you too. Yeah, it's really incredible. So there are still things, even though I've been to that park many, many times now. I had an annual pass when we lived in California. There are still things that I haven't done there. There's a lot of things I still haven't done there. So somehow in this one park, this one compact park, they've just included so much stuff that you can't possibly get it all done, even if you go for several days. And so you have to do it. You'll thank yourself when it's all said and done. If you can splurge and stay on property, that's really great. It is expensive to stay on property, but there's also some wonderful hotels within walking distance. A lot of stuff within walking distance. I love it because you can make an ADR. Especially if you're using the Genie system to make I don't know what do they call them these days. By the time this actually airs, it may be back to FastPass. Who knows? Yeah, true. But you could be on the Matterhorn and then book a lightning lane for Radiator Springs Racers. Well, that would be an individual lightning lane, but and then you can just walk across or make an ADR for Carthay Circle or something. You just walk across the plaza there, the Esplanade, I think they call it, and then go into the California Adventure, and then you're right there, and then you can just walk back over to Magic Kingdom within minutes. It's crazy. It's crazy. How it's just super convenient. Everything's right there. It feels very, there's some, like, I would compare it this way for me, based on my experience. If you've been to some cities in the US, at least I'll tell you about, like San Francisco. It's a relatively big city, right? It's not London by any stretch, but it's a good sized American city. But despite its hills, it's a very walkable, very you can, even if you're not walking, you can kind of get to wherever you need to be within minutes. It doesn't take much time at all, as opposed to like LA, right? Like LA, big city, and it takes forever to get from like point A to point B. It's just everything's like, even if it looks like it's close on the map, it takes forever to get there. That's sort of how Disney World is to Disneyland. Disney World is wonderful. There's so much stuff. It's so immersive. You are in a bubble. You can completely shut yourself out from, the rest of the world, and have these incredibly immersive experiences and walk along look, you can walk along a river path essentially from Hollywood Studios to Epcot, right? You can't do that in any other park anywhere in the world. But you still have to make an effort. Like, you're getting on a monorail, you're getting on a boat, you're taking a walk. It's going to be a lot of effort to get from one park to another park, right? Yep. Disneyland, you just walk like 100 feet, and you're into the next park. And it's incredible.
It just makes it sound so small.
It sounds small, but that's what I'm saying. When you get in there, it's not. There's so much to do. There's so many, many, many things to do. And of course, you have to spend some time doing nothing as well.
Yeah.
You have to, because you're not going to take it all in otherwise. You need to sit down there on Main Street. You need to sit down in Adventureland. You need to sit down in Tomorrowland. Tomorrowland's going to freak you out because you think you know it, but you don't. And just take it all in. Take it all in. And we haven't even talked about attractions. other attractions, but
I think that's one of the.
And do you want to hear more? I've got so much to talk about. I don't want to.
Every time we talk about Disneyland, I just want to book a trip. This is becoming like one of those themes.
Disneyland or Shanghai?
I think.
Look. This is what you do, Ben. Look, this is what you do. You take a plane to Orlando, right? You do a few days in Walt Disney World, right? We have some fun in Walt Disney World. Then you get on the airplane and you fly out to Anaheim. And you do, say, 3 or 4 days, in Disneyland, in Disney California Adventure, and do that thing. And then you hop on the plane and you go to Alani. Actually, wait, strike that. Reverse it. You go up to San Francisco to make a visit to the Disney Family Museum, because we have to do that because that's like going to Mecca. And then you go to SFO and you take an airplane to Alani in Honolulu, right? And you spend a couple days there because you got to take a break on your way to Japan. So you can go to Tokyo Disney Sea, and you can go to Tokyo Disneyland, and then on to Shanghai, of course. And then, from there, you might as well
Paris. Might as well come back to Paris.
You might as well you do that too. Sell a kidney or two along the way to afford it, but hey, that'd be
I thought Jason was paying the way he was proposing.
It would be an interesting exercise. I think it would be an interesting exercise to say, okay, like how much would it cost to actually do a full Disney parks around the world trip? And like how affordable could you make it, and how crazy expensive could you make it?
Impact on jet lag, because you're always traveling that direction. I feel like you're gaining time.
Yeah, you're gaining time. You're gonna feel great until you go home.
Yeah,
you just take it slowly enough,
Yeah,
you're fine.
And then you fall off the proverbial cliff.
That would be an interesting.
Rope drop every park around the world.
Rope drop to fireworks.
No rope. I'm not rope dropping.
We will do with jet lag. You'll be awake.
Yeah, this might be true. I don't know. I tend to stay up late enough when I go to California. I end up staying up so late that I just resync myself in that one night. Everything in Disneyland is done better. I think probably it's because the Imagineers are all right there, so they get a little more time to tend to things. It's their home park. It doesn't mean that they don't care about the other parks. Of course they care about the other parks, but there's just some there's this level of detail that's just undeniably, I think, reflective of the care that they have for that particular park. And you just don't see that in other places. Like even Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway, the queue for Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway is just demonstrably better than than Hollywood Studios. And it's not just, I mean, Hollywood Studios, I know what they did. They kind of, made it fit with the Chinese theater and everything. And I get it, but they could have done something along the same lines with what they did in Disneyland. And they didn't even try. And, it's Disneyland's, I was waving people past me in the queue so I could just stick around and look at things a little more closely and read some of the stuff a little more closely. And I don't know if you've talked about, I mean, you have talked about some of the stuff, I think, already, but I don't know. I think it's just better. Pirates is better. Pirates is longer, much longer. If fans of the Walt Disney World version of Pirates will feel right at home with the Disneyland version of Pirates, but they will come away thinking, yeah, this is a lot better. It's just better. There's more to see. It feels more authentic. Space Mountain's better because it's still a proper Space Mountain as opposed to that weird thing that you guys apparently have in Disneyland Paris.
Oh, that's really good, though, Jason. That is proper code. It's proper code.
I know, but it's not really space. But it's not really space. I mean, Space Mountain is not. Space Mountain is like a step up from Matterhorn sort of thing. It's like a mousetrap meets Matterhorn in the dark.
Jason, sorry.
You guys have a proper roller coaster.
Yeah, Space Mountain.
I've got a confession to make about that as well, because actually, last summer after I'd had surgery and before I started chemo and radio, right, we actually got a sneaky 5-day trip to Disneyland Paris, right? I was under strict instructions, right? You're not going to go and do any of the heavy rides and things like that, yeah? So we were stood in the queue for Space Mountain.
Are you outing yourself, John?
Stood in the queue for Space Mountain, and my wife turns around and says, it doesn't go upside down, does it? No. It's just like
Space Mountain. Why would it go
the one in
upside down?
Florida. As the kids are looking at me going, right?
Oh,
We got away with it. Yeah, it was just like, it was one of those moments. And like,
you got away with it until you didn't get away with it.
And actually, as you got off, and then you start reading, you know the small print that you do not ride this ride if you've had surgery. All this. I'm like, whoops. Don't tell me surgeon, but actually that was rather good. I enjoyed that. And
you can just pretend you don't speak French. It was in French. What can I do? I can read it.
You're right.
It's all French.
But it was it's just amazing.
Right.
For the rest of the trip, I wasn't allowed on any ride that possibly might have gone upside down. Well, yeah.
Really?
Did you not do the Iron Man coaster?
Yeah, I did. Yeah. We did that.
And Crush's coaster.
Yeah, and we also... Yeah.
That goes on its side more than anything else.
It's like that angle, wouldn't it?
You get back on the Eurostar, and it was like, no, I didn't. I actually, that was me penance in a way,
Couldn't get away with that because they could see it.
It's just like Alison was like, no.
Yeah, it needs to be in a show.
Alison could see it, so.
Well, hopefully your medical professional.
I was hoping the same as well, Jason, but like we're over here down the line now, so I'll blame it on other things. What I was going to say to
you're fine. You're fine. The statute of limitations is.
What I was going to say to you though, what's really fascinating about Disneyland, and certainly for us as a podcast, many people know that we actually met up in person for the first time only a couple of weeks ago. And actually, a bit like you said at the very start of the show, it's not a case of just sort of being a friend. It is just like, it's not happened just now or when you've just started doing these podcasts. We met each other, and it was as if we met each other years and years and years ago. It was just like, it was meeting people that you have grown with, meeting people that you've come to share a damn good laugh with. And what really struck all of us is we went to the Disney 100 exhibition, which we did a Wednesday show about was it last week? If you listen to the podcast, it comes out. If it comes out on the day, Yeah,
8th of November, I think it was.
But as we actually sat, we were stood looking around it, and I think all of us, because of what we were actually seeing and the history and the Disney proper history of it, I think all of us were just sort of absolutely inspired to just get that Disneyland trip in as well, because it is the historic part of it. And I think from what you've said already with us, it's that whole bit about it being properly home to Imagineers, properly home to Walt. And actually, that's the bit, I think, if you've been to Florida a few times, I think that's the bit that you're trying to seek out, and you're trying to just get to that sort of nemesis moment where you are completely at one with what Walt actually created, and it sounds to me as if you've actually had that little moment when you've stopped and you've actually just soaked it up.
I have those moments all throughout the visits. I mean, I think the way that we like to enjoy the parks is at a slower pace and a little more meandering at times, and to allow enough space, not just from a time standpoint, but just from a emotional standpoint, allow enough space to be there, to actually to feel it, to actually feel what's happening, and to also just watch the people. I got to tell you about the people too. The people are wonderful. The cast members are. It's like they stepped right out of central casting for cast members. Like, cast members are incredible. There's some cast members that have been doing it, and they've been there for a long, long time, which is also really cool. But the people too, the guests, because a lot of them are local-ish, they know where they're going. They don't walk into you. You don't have to worry. It's not, people aren't lost and trying to try to find out where they're supposed to be going. So those of us who are there for the first time, it doesn't feel as chaotic. It doesn't feel like there's this organized anarchy happening. Everything just kind of feels more effortless, throughout the park experience. And that's a really nice thing as well. And I don't know. I think if you guys go to Disneyland, you better tell me ahead of time, because I don't want to see pictures of the group together in Disneyland. Come to find out that I missed out on something.
Now there's a thought. We wouldn't do that. And actually, as we were walking around the exhibition in London, I actually felt it was the type of thing. And going back to the immersive and the emotional part of it, it's right up your street as well. So it's one of those things that if you ever get the chance, go and see it. But it is purely just that complete sort of immersion in what Disney's all about. And rather than seeing it all around you, we actually went to London and actually got it was like it's being intravenously fed Disney. But because that's how it was. It was just like it was as if you could take us into one man's dream, and we just
invasive, John.
We were in our absolute element, and actually that was, I think, for all of us, we were just sort of just soaking it up so much, and that will stay with me for a long time, I must admit.
It just felt like a big version of one man's dream.
Yes. Well, I mean, that begs the question about the Disney Family Museum too. Then, I mean, you have to go to the Family Museum, because that is, there's nowhere else on Earth like it. There's nothing else that, I mean, it's not owned by Disney. It was created by his daughter, Diane Disney Miller, who's now passed away, and it was very much supported by the Disney company. It continues to be, and so it's separate. It's separately run and owned entity that is supported by the Walt Disney Company. But it is very much about Walt and his family. his origins and his story and the story of the people he surrounded himself with, and the people and the legacy of Walt. And you can't spend enough time in that space. Like they almost seemingly have to tear you away from it. That's how I feel. I think that's how the people felt who we visited with, and we were there when we were there this last time. We rented the place out, so we had the entire museum to ourselves for 90 minutes, and we were going to do 3 hours, but we couldn't because the cruise ship that we were on came into port later than it was supposed to, so we had to cut in half the amount of time we were there. And I can tell you, even there were just a very small group of us, and we had the whole place to ourselves. Completely to ourselves, which was amazing. We still needed like another 10 hours, it felt, when it was all finished. And we had complete unfettered access to everything, but it didn't matter. Like, there's so much to read and so much to see and so much to do that you have to go there and spend a full time. So you have to take me so that we can do it properly. So I can take you around, show you some things. And then, of course, you can stop at the Lucasfilm. We stopped at Lucasfilm, and we saw the Yoda fountain. But we saw the Yoda fountain getting worked on, which was a little disappointing. But then Yoda, he needs some TLC. It's fine. He's old. He's very old, So then we went into the lobby of Lucasfilm and saw all this cool stuff in there. It's such a great, amazing space. So if you're in California for Disneyland, especially if you're coming from as far away as you guys would be, you got to do the 1 hour flight north.
Yeah.
And experience that as well. You have to. Plus, I can take you to a fun sushi place. I like to go.
There you go. Goes without saying, right? Put my name down, Jason. That's it.
I think we should just go. Let's just do it. Let's just book it. We just do it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
2025. There we go.
That sounds absolutely unmissable. What is it?
And none of you have been to Disneyland. No, none
Claire
of you have
No.
been to
No.
Yeah.
Claire has.
Claire has.
Claire has. When, though?
In 1993.
1919. What was that?
1993.
Oh, 93. Sorry.
Yeah, you're old. Your hearing's going.
Yeah. So you would know. So 93. So 93.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to.
There was no California
Adventure
Adventure.
was a parking lot at that point.
Yeah, right.
right.
The hotel we stayed in is still there. That's still opposite. The one that's like the Camelot style thing.
Oh yeah.
That's still there.
Is it the one? Let me.
The
think.
castle. I think it's like the
I don't know what they
something
call it
castle.
now. It's not Candy Cane. It's that's the other one. There's so many. Well, you can say you can tell them there's so many walking. There's like hotels within walking
Good
distance.
Partner hotels or whatever they're called.
Yeah, whatever they're called.
See, this is the
But if
part
you can
where I
afford
make
to
Claire
spend
feel
on
old.
Well, don't say it.
Oh, don't say it, Ben.
Don't say it.
Don't say it.
I was a child. I'm just saying, I was a child when we went. I wasn't.
I was 3.
An adult.
Becky loves just dropping that in every show. I'm going to go and listen, right? I'm going to go and listen now to the other 98 shows, right? So we now know that Becca's managed to get it into this show. Out of the previous 98 shows.
I wonder if it's all of them.
Exactly.
So you have to drop it in.
Exactly.
To make you feel old.
At least yours isn't offensive, John.
We mentioned Show Us Your Pumpkins earlier, and that was the show you mentioned it last time.
That's the last one I was on.
Because that was the show that we did.
When you were 3?
Claire, that was...
I was 3 when I went to Walt Disney World.
Yeah, I was going to say, Claire, that was a show that we said we
23.
didn't have pumpkins when we were kids, and we were like, it wasn't just because we were poor, it was turnips.
Turnip.
Yeah.
Becca missed that.
I didn't notice all the turnips.
Goodness.
Would have been fun.
No such thing as a pumpkin. Get yourself a turnip and get on with it. It was the Castle Inn and Suites is where we stayed.
There we go. We get there. We get there in the end.
It's got like a external facade of like Camelot, and it's got a suit of armour inside it. It's still there. And I would go and stay there again. I think
it's just reminded me of that place down the 192 in Florida.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
I mean, opposite the dodgy Walmart.
Claire, it's equivalent to a.
There are some good options. I got to tell you though, there's something about being able to leave the park and just roll into your hotel, especially if you're staying, if you're able to stay at the Grand Californian or your Disneyland hotel. It is a huge splurge to stay at those hotels. But my feeling is that if you are planning a trip to Disneyland and you're planning it out 2-3 years ahead of time, if you can swing it, start saving to do it that way, because you're only going to be there for 2, most 3 nights anyway. So if you can make it happen, try to do it. See if you find a deal or something, because it is a magically immersive experience. And then the Grand Californian and the Disneyland Hotel, the Paradise Pier, I'm not going to talk about much. But those other two, it is such a good experience.
Both of those hotels are Disney Vacation Club. So if you can rent points, that can be a cheaper way in.
I also, even if you're not staying on properties, same with Walt Disney World, you can still access those hotels. You can still go and visit and spend some time there. And so by all means, you should at least take a little tour of the Grand Californian, maybe make an ADR at one of the restaurants there, because it is, I think, with the exception of Aulani, one of the best hotels Disney has done. It's just beautiful. It's large but comfy. The lounges are superb. The restaurant Napa Rose is, I think, the best Disney restaurant I've ever experienced. It's a really, really, really nice resort.
Planning a trip to Florida? Planning a cruise? Plan on just getting away anywhere in the world. Forward Travel are your first and only stop along the way, making moments into memories. Contact them through our website or through their Facebook and Instagram profiles and tell them that the Great British Mickey Waffle sent you there. And may your next magical adventure begin.
So we've got Disneyland to book and Walt Disney Family Museum to book.
I think we do.
Mm-hmm.
And Grand California.
And Jason has Disneyland.
I think so. I think
yes.
I know, but it's so scary. I'm so afraid of going to Disneyland Paris. Because French people.
They're not as bad as you
I
think
thought
they
you were
are.
going to say French cast members, though.
No, I know they
can.
are. I'm scared, and it's not. Yeah, everything I hear, I'm more comfortable going to Tokyo than I am. I think going to
really.
Yeah.
Why?
No.
I think you should elaborate on this.
I think so as well.
Is it some language barrier?
Can I also
just?
Because I feel here's the thing. Because I'm not going to charm my way through anything there. I'm going to be like, as soon as they realize I don't speak a lick of French, they're going to like, okay, you're
you've had it.
Sacrifice to the gods.
They're fine.
I definitely need a buddy of some sort.
Extra garlic, was it?
As long as you can say hello, goodbye, and thank you, and you try.
Yeah, no, you
Becca,
say
that's
that.
very charitable.
You say that.
I don't
you
try.
Say that.
You don't.
But
He
I know
doesn't even
the
try. I at least say merci. And
that head shake is the perfect example of what happens.
I get the look when in Epcot. I try it out. I'm going to say a few words here and there. They look at me like,
what did you say? Beauty and the Beast.
Boy.
That would be it.
Like you. Don't even.
Did I tell you about the Jason, did Caroline, my sister-in-law, was with us when we were there in the summer.
That was a wonderful experience with her.
Did she tell you about the conversation that she had at the food booth?
Yes.
With the croissant. And she said to the French cast members, please tell me you are not serving croissant with escargot in. And all the other French cast members were like, yeah, we know. It's ridiculous, isn't it? Isn't it awful? We can't believe we have to serve this stuff. But this conversation was happening in French, obviously.
Yes.
So nobody else around could tell.
And there was something else, though. I can't remember. There was something else. There was another food item there that she asked. She said, well, so, like, do you eat this? There was something. I don't remember. But she's like, do you eat this? And they're like, no, we're French. I don't eat that. But I got to say, the part that Claire's leaving out, the part that she has had selective amnesia about, is that we then also went to see Impressions of France with Caroline. And she was sitting one row ahead, and so I had a view of her during the show. And I'm like watching the show, looking at her, watching the show, looking at her, watching the show. I know it sounds creepy to say it like that now, but she. So about I don't know, 3 or 4 minutes into it, she does this thing where she like leans forward on her hands, like getting like kind of settling into it. And when it's all finished, she turns around and she says, "That was beautiful." And I'm like, and now I can die. I was like, it was so. I was like, life affirming.
Not quite how I remember it.
She did. She said it was wonderful. It was beautiful. And then I said, and she said the clothing. She said some of the clothing is interesting.
So
a little dated.
The moment with the cyclists. That bit.
Yes.
I could see what she was saying. It's not repeatable on camera because
of what they're
even
wearing.
with a French accent, I could read her work. It could read her lips. What she was saying.
Because of what they're wearing, but then I questioned her about that. I said I know. And then they have then there's the sheep that they almost get run over. She's like, well, no, that's actually pretty.
That's true. Yeah. And the market that's still very much. Yeah.
I mean, so it's
Do you know
I go to Disneyland
What?
Paris. I need a buddy. I need somebody who can.
I'm getting a bit scared here, Jason, because actually you're talking about how you were watching. you just you were sat there staring, but previously you were talking about being on the kids' ride at Disneyland. And you got away with that. You got away with that.
You got to pick your moments, John.
I'm just saying.
You got to pick your moments. Yes, I did because number one. The kids ride. I was surrounded by other. I was caged, so there was that. I was protected. I was caged, and I was caged with other people. So I had buddies.
Just be careful, Jason. Be careful when you come to Paris. When you come to Paris, and the cast member turns around and says, "La petite merde," you've had it. That's it. Completely dumb. I shall leave that out there for anyone who wants to Google it. Yeah, exactly.
Google Translate now.
It's out there. But yeah, don't take it personally, Jason, but the cast members will.
Do you know what, though, Jason?
Sorry.
That's what I'm saying. I'm afraid. I don't want to. I'm afraid of that.
Do you know something, though, Jason? What you don't know is that we actually went back and saw Impressions de France for us during our trip.
Without me?
Claire, I've never heard anyone do that before.
I've never heard Claire do that before.
That's twice more than I've done it in the last 15 years.
That's twice more than I've ever done it.
15, just so. But yeah, we actually saw it twice in the 3 weeks we were there. Which is more than I've seen Happily Ever
After. I still can't believe that. Claire, I can't wait till you can fix that. I can't wait till you can go and see. It will be.
Who knows?
Yeah. Like we said, you're not allowed back in the country until you've seen Happy
Well, she was previously not allowed back in the country because she hasn't watched Fantasmic. So, yeah.
Fantasmic.
Yeah.
That sorted that.
I fixed that bit.
Oh, but wait. You saw Fantasmic in Hollywood Studios, though?
Yeah, I saw Fantasmic a year ago.
That's not proper Fantasmic. You saw Adolescent.
I saw the wet one, is what I know. Just saying.
It's not. You got to see Fantasmic. Fantasmic in Disneyland is incredible, not just because the dragon, God rest his soul, is so much better, but also it's there. It's like you're right there in the park. Rivers of America. It's incredible. It's just happening in the place where you feel like it should happen. Like Mickey, it all just feels right, and with all the characters come out, and they're on a proper boat.
Yeah,
like.
Well, as opposed to the paddle steamer that comes round.
You mean the miniature paddle steamer? It's like the difference between like a standard poodle and a little toy poodle.
There's one like a canoe and
with the boats. That little boat that they bring in Hollywood Studios is like a little clown car by comparison.
Great description.
To like imagine, and because it's like the Liberty Bell. Imagine the Liberty. The Liberty Bell, the one that you got on when we were supposed to meet up. And anyway, the Liberty Bell. It's
a great boat.
It's giant though, right? So they have that size boat, and they fill it with characters. It's amazing. Not that little like I said, little clown car that they have in Hollywood Studios. Plus, getting to that theater, that amphitheater in Hollywood Studios, it is like walking.
It's a bit of a journey.
You might as be walking the 192.
Yeah.
It is the longest walk.
I think they move it every day. It seems to get further away every time.
It's like
trying to get out is even worse.
It's like plate tectonics, I think.
It's just
it's just.
I'm like, how is this not in Epcot?
And when the
surely I've walked past Magic Kingdom
when the fireworks in Epcot have started, and you sat there and you're like, hang on a minute, it only feels as if you're about sort of just about that much, a stone's throw away from.
You are
the most bizarre.
You're back to back with Swan and Dolphin.
Bizarre feeling.
Yeah, it's right there.
Bizarre.
It's right there. If you could walk to it, you could.
Pop over the gate.
If you could walk from Fantasmic, from the amphitheater at Fantasmic, if you could walk from there to say the Japan Pavilion in Epcot, you could get there faster if you're allowed to walk. You could get there faster than if you parked in Epcot's parking lot. Car park, and then walked from there from the main entrance. It's closer. It's so much closer.
Why don't they have a back gate so you could go?
To save you the hassle of trying to get out again as well, because that's the worst bit. That is the worst bit.
Trying to go all the way around.
Yeah.
Because they'd have to build not just because
they want you to go back through the shops.
I was going to say because the shops aren't that.
They're going to follow you right past the shop.
Direction.
Every good ride or show ends in a gift shop,
and every good park.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But talking of like nighttime entertainment, Jason, what's it like in Disneyland? Because I know I've seen things of World of Color, and that's just something that I really want to go and see.
It's wonderful, but also it's an anxiety fueled fever dream kind of thing.
Sounds like I'd love it.
The problem is that there's so much going on, and trying to pick where am I going to watch this show? Like if they're doing projections, they're going to be doing projections on the castle at the same time they're doing projections on Small World potentially, and then sometimes they'll have like the Bruno, the Encanto projection show on Small World that only happens on Small World, so that'll happen. But then like 7 minutes later, these Fantasmic's happening on Rivers of America, and then like 7 minutes later, like all the fireworks are happening on Main Street, and you're like, okay, I gotta pick like which thing I'm gonna do, because you can't possibly get to all of the things, right? So it's a problem you want to have, but there's so much to choose from. There's so much going on, and then of course there's World of Color it's in California Adventure, but it's changed now because for the 100th celebration they've changed it a little bit, and it's really good still. I still don't like it as much as the original. I think probably should be called something different. They're still calling it World of Color, but it should be
they called it World of Color 1
Yeah, but it's like
World of Color the Revenge.
Now it's gonna be like Apple.
World of Color
15.
Us.
I don't know.
Just like you keep doing with the Epcot stuff. Just put us
World
at
of
the end
Colour
of it. It'll be fine. We'll get away with that. That's all right.
If anyone wants a different opinion on Harmonious, watch Behind the Attraction. They have a one on Epcot, nighttime experience and nighttime shows.
Did they touch on Harmonious?
There's a whole segment on what Harmonious was supposed to have been, and they're taking it down.
Behind it.
It's
Wait. What? Yeah. They talked about the mistake?
They talked about it, and they talked about that it was ending for the 50th, and he seemed to remove it for a new show.
It's actually it's one of the best things I've actually seen on Disney Plus recently, and actually it came. I think Ben had mentioned about Jason. You mentioned about Pirates of the Caribbean as well. There's a whole episode about each of the different Pirates of the Caribbean. Or I need someone in America to sort of correlate with this, because actually, if it's sometimes in the show, it's Pirates of the Caribbean, and I think somebody's voiced it over for the UK audience, and then sometimes in the same show, it's Caribbean. And I think we're on a but I think we're on different voiceover for the UK market, and I'm trying to find out. So if anyone's listening to this show,
but the Caribbean's not right. You go sailing in the Caribbean. You stay at the Caribbean Beach Resort. You ride Pirates of the Caribbean.
Okay. Is that the official line?
That's just the way it is. Everyone knows that is the proper way. Just like that's the official line. It's always Pirates of the Caribbean and it's Caribbean Beach Resort. Like, why? I don't know. It's just the way it is.
I knew this would trigger the usual debate about Americanisms.
It's just how it is.
It's spelled the same, so it should be pronounced the same.
We can't talk.
I'm sure it comes down to how many of the islands were inhabited by the UK at some point.
Oh dear! Are we allowed to talk about that?
Caribbean,
St. Lucia, Barbados. Caribbean, surely.
Caribbean.
Yeah.
Pirates of the Caribbean. Yeah. Right.
Caribbean.
We're on the same page.
All of this is stemmed from
Caribbean Beach Resort.
Caribbean Beach Resort.
Caribbean Beach Resort.
No one says Caribbean Beach Resort.
We do.
But you have to go by how they call it. How do they self-refer to it, right? And that's the thing. Disney has a different standard. If you ask like a cast member, like, what's the name of your resort, they're going to say Caribbean Beach Resort. If you ask them, what's the name of that ride that's in Adventureland where that has all the pirates and stuff, they're going to say Pirates of the Caribbean. You're like, aha! Like, what? You can catch them right in the moment, right when you're at the resort.
That makes no sense.
I know. Like, since when has English made sense?
I'm hoping on like the sort of like the Disney College program or the English and the exchange one, where someone works at Caribbean Beach Resort, and they will forever call it Caribbean.
That'd be quite impressive.
Caribbean, it's Caribbean Queen.
Yeah. Billy Ocean got it right, didn't he?
Caribbean Queen.
Yeah,
he did get that part.
The other thing as well, if you want to watch Disney Plus, there's a whole episode on food, which is exceptionally good. I'm going to blame Ben, because Ben has set up Series 2's up on Disney Plus, and I then ended up binge watching the whole lot, and again stayed up late because I quite like staying up late.
It's such an easy one.
Big Thunder.
So I've seen it flash up on the screen.
Episode is absolutely to behold, and again, but
Tony
to
Baxter,
go back and actually look at what Tony Baxter's footprint in so many of the parts worldwide. I actually.
Yeah, we never waited for the concrete to finish.
He's brilliant. Absolutely. It's just as an Imagineer, I think loads of people, we always give Joe Rohde a big shout out, and I don't think we give sort of due credit to Tony Baxter and what he was actually able to put in, despite, and he's got, if you listen to watch it and listen, Jason, he's got exactly the same filing system that you have, where you have all these ideas of different shows, and they had different ideas that they ended up with that they just put in a box and just waited until somebody came calling, and it was just one of them things that when it was one of those really funny moments, and I'm thinking, that's kind of how we put our shows together. We've got all these ideas. We have to write them down. We keep them all saved. And then suddenly we're thinking, what on earth are we doing for the next 10 Wednesday shows or the next 10 podcasts? And suddenly we're end up scrabbling around, and we're going back into the drawer and digging out all this stuff. And we're like, yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, show us your pumpkins.
John, I want to say thank you for putting us at the same level as Disney Imagineers.
I actually felt
Ben.
It was one of those moments. We become very we're a bit like yourself, Jason. You become very self-critical when you're doing shows and you want to do something different and things like that. And actually, it's all there. But what we actually want to do is actually just drag it out of each other as to sharing that complete passion for what we all enjoy watching and what we enjoy doing when we go to the parks. And actually, the Imagineers do exactly that as well. So I'll take that. Yeah. Go on, Claire.
I was going to say, I think that there's a podcast. We've done our journey to the century. Maybe we should do a short segment in future shows about some of the Imagineers. One about Joe Roney, one about Ronnie Crump, one about Tony Baxter.
Nice idea.
I think there's just going to open an idea. Thanks very much.
We'll put it in. We'll put it on the.
It's on the Trello.
Somebody put on this little paper and stick it in the drawer.
And that's exactly it. That is just how
that might be the way.
Claire's initials
that's how we work, Jason. And I think this is the most amazing thing that it's like-minded people that come together. We share that same passion for a company that take every single dollar that we actually have in our back pocket. And we gladly turn up each and every time we go, on, Disney, take our money. We don't. Yeah, and actually, we still keep coming back for more and more. And that kind of sums the whole thing up. And for anyone who's not listened to all of our previous 98 shows, we've all been in completely different worlds from each other, and yet we share the same thing, and this is why we really enjoy getting you on the show, because you're doing exactly the same thing, but you're able to share it because you live so close to Walt Disney World. And for me, that is, I know it's one of those moments that you actually always think, when you're in a villa and you're on holiday and you're in Orlando and you're thinking, wouldn't it be great to live here? And then you have to get on the plane to come back to the UK and you're thinking, okay, that's that dream gone. You're not. You live there. And how does that feel? Because actually, for me, for me is one of those things that you can just...
Pretty good, John.
Do you go into the parks every day? No, just those little things. No, you didn't.
No, you don't. I mean, some people do. You can. I mean, post COVID, it became interesting and weird, and things were different for a long time there, where you couldn't just go to the park. It wasn't just a given that you could go. I can't tell you this did happen the other night. I can't remember what was going on. Something was upsetting. I don't know. I was in a bad headspace, and I was driving, and I wasn't even on Disney property. I was coming back from someplace, and I just remember thinking to myself, Jason, you live in Walt Disney World. Think about that for a moment. You can just go to your happy place. You just go there. Like you could. There are nights where you want to go to dinner. You go to dinner on Disney property somewhere. It's so you can dip in and dip out, and it's really, really nice that way. And it never gets old. The drive home and fireworks going off of the Magic Kingdom. That like every time that happens, I think of I'm like, you know what? If your like 3-year-old or 13-year-old self could have known that at some point in your life you're just going to live here, you'd have been ecstatic. And then so you don't take it for granted. And I think that's an important part for me in my experience here has been working really hard to not take it for granted. Because I think it's easy wherever you live to take things for granted. I think you guys probably, and we all have things in our backyard that are amazing and wonderful, and whether it's natural beauty or whether it's if you're in an urban environment, if you're in London or near London, like that's people like that's a bucket list place for people to visit, right? But it tends to be in our lives when something's right there, we don't appreciate as much. And I think that's yes, living near Disney is great, but I think people who do live here also tend to not appreciate it as fully as they should, especially given the motivation to be here. And I think, but that's a lesson for all of us, wherever we are, is to not only appreciate what you have around you and to be curious about what else is around you, but also to be curious about, hey, okay, look, I am not going to live in Disney World for whatever reasons, won't, whatever. But how do I channel that into my everyday? And how do I bring that feeling into, my present state? And I think the answer is all around us, like outside of us. It's also through shows like yours, where people can ground themselves back in their happy place with people who are like-minded, who get it. They don't have to explain to you guys why they love all things Disney. I think everyone listening probably knows that they have people in their lives who, if they were to rave about, kind of go on and on about how great Disney is, that they would be shamed a little bit.
Yeah.
For it. And there's people who, don't like, whether that's because they don't like the company or they don't understand why you would spend all this time and money going to some place that's just make-believe and not real, so to speak. All those people. So we don't have to explain it to people like us. And I think that's another really good way. It's another great service that you guys provide to the world.
Oh, what a lovely thing to say. Yeah. I think as well, I'm going to twist it a little bit, because where I live is the most beautiful place, but the people who live here, I live beside the seaside in a northern town. The people who have lived here all their lives, I've not got a good word to say about it. I've lived here for like 25 maybe 30 years, and actually, in fact, 30 years, and actually, I appreciate it. Yet the people who've lived here their entire existence just slag it off. And it was the most wonderful thing, because I had the absolute pleasure. I think I shared a photo with these guys earlier this week. I was at work, as you do, and I was actually down at the seafront. I actually got to see bottlenose dolphins playing in the sea in their natural environment. And the kid I was actually teaching at the time just said, I never knew you could see dolphins in our town. And he's lived here. Yeah, he's lived here, he'd be 19, something like that. And we miss so much when you become immune to that bit. And our people in the Orlando area are a bit like that, when they become very critical of Disney or critical of Universal, because I'm pretty sure it's probably with both parks.
Yeah.
Yet they don't understand the fact that both parks actually are the biggest employers in that particular area.
What? I mean, I'd take it a step further. You're spot on, and I think that's an important lesson. I love the visual there. The 19-year-old who has lived in this town all their life, and they've never noticed the dolphin swimming up, because everything's just, it's like background noise. It just becomes part of the everyday backdrop. And I think for a lot of, not just people who live close to Disney, I think people who visit Disney on a regular basis, you think about it, like, we still take a lot for granted. We still tend to rush through it, and we tend to try to fit a whole bunch of things in and itinerize everything. And I just made that word up, but it's and then we miss things or we forget things. And I think, it's in watching shows like Behind the Attraction. I think that's what it's called. Yeah. And listening to shows like yours, and then going back to the spaces and being purposeful about, what, I'm going to slow down, and I'm going to look for details that I don't usually see. There's because I don't want to get us on a weird science tangent here, but from a psychology standpoint, that's how our brain works. Our brain, like when you think about it, like the things you remember are the things that are novel. The things that you forget are the things that are the everyday, that are the ordinary. Like most of the stuff that we experience in our lives is not remembered because it doesn't need to be, because it's happened so many times already. It's just the dolphins, not even the dolphins, it's the ocean. So why would you see the dolphins if you're never really looking at the ocean? The ocean's just there. You walk down Main Street. I guarantee you, if the next time you walk down Main Street, you are mindful and say, I'm going to look for things that I haven't noticed before. I'm going to, even if it's just, the colors on the flowers maybe, or the particular, scents or something that are happening, even if it's just actually noting the other guests, and see like, hey, what's different about this current situation. Like taking the time to experience Disney in that way is something that I don't even do most of the time. Yeah. But I think if we do that, that's the secret sauce. That is the way that you can have a brand new Disney experience every single time, and also practice, like experience it in a way that you can now take that back with you, because you didn't just have another Disney vacation.
Yeah.
You had a unique set of experiences that now you're going to remember because you actually took a moment to notice something new.
I think Claire mentioned different. That really early in the show.
When we did Keys to the Kingdom.
You're right there, Ben.
It was one of those things that I now treat Magic Kingdom in such a different way, and just how much more things I notice from that one thing that I may have noticed on the Keys to the Kingdom tour. I'm now more aware of everything else that is going on around me, that actually I can just sit, watch the world go by and notice different things. Yeah. Where before I would just be, okay, when's our first fast pass? Or I'll just rush to space, ignoring everything that there's.
I know, Claire, you mentioned about the deliberate changes in concrete. And I know we did a show a good long time ago about pavement, Disney pavements, which sounds a bizarre thing to talk about. I know we've talked about toilets and things like that. I'm actually going to set people a challenge who are listening to this, because Jason, you've hit upon something that actually is so pertinent, and it fits in so amazingly with the detailing, that if anyone actually is listening and you want a challenge for the next time you walk up Main Street, just look at the windows, and for each name that you see in a window, instead of using your phone to see where your next, how long the line is for Seven Dwarves and things like that, just do a little bit of a Google search on the name that's in the window, because actually it's the start of a brand new sort of appreciation of detail and people. And then you start thinking, oh my word, they did that for the Disney Corporation. And then you start digging a bit deeper and you see the links between California and Florida to Paris, and it's kind of just becomes this big web of just the most amazing things that, you wonder why people are very jealous of Disney, but very few companies are actually capable of actually creating so many theme parks throughout the world that have got a very similar feel and a very similar vibe to them. And I think that's testament to exactly where Walt's original vision came from. I always keep coming back to that, because it's so important that we keep that as a focus, not just in theme park visiting, but actually in what we do, and actually talking about Disney as a podcast as well. But speaking of which, I'm going to give you a little bit of an opportunity here, Jason, because actually we had the most amazing experience that after a little or far too long a sabbatical, that After Hours is back. Go on, sound a bit more cheery about it, if you don't mind. I'll let you up. I'll let you up to that. Really nice, and it's just my flipping out.
After Hours is it is. Well, we stopped doing it for a long time, as you know, and the reasons are manifold, but the primary reason was it was
life gets in the way. Yeah,
it got to the point. Just to be completely honest, like it was one of those things where it was because you're doing it weekly, and it was fun. It was always fun, and our planning sessions for it were even more fun, I think, than doing the show itself. And so that part was great, but it got to the point. Our lives got so complicated that it became really difficult to pull it off. And then, then you can't. If you can't do something at the level of quality that you want to do it, then you really shouldn't do it. I mean, I don't think you should just kind of phone it in. I think you have to decide, look, I'm going to commit to doing something with a quality or not. So but at the same time, we kind of missed it. We kind of missed the conversations, and we know that the community missed it as well. So we got together over the summer and said, look, let's do it once a month, and let's do it in a much looser format, in one that's more conversational, and one that is just fun. It's just fun for us. And if people show up, then great. And if they don't, that's okay, because we're just going to enjoy it. We're going to have a good time ourselves. And so that's what we're doing. And it is, it is basically three very different men getting together to talk about Disney and then other stuff. And we have a good time. And sometimes we'll play some games, and sometimes we just wax poetic about food or whatever. And we make fun of the words that Carlos says, and we have a good time with it, and and I wish I could tell you what the proper schedule is for it, because it was actually supposed to happen yesterday, but it didn't. The same reason I'm not in the studio here, but so it's going to happen next Wednesday. But generally it's once a month on sort of the second Thursday. We haven't only done it once since we've come back. Was I think it's
so it's better to just every month. Just keep in tune with your socials, and then try to make sure that you
just use your Ouija board and I mean, the best thing to do is to go to look search for After Hours Let's Talk Disney on YouTube, and also on Facebook, and subscribe and turn your notifications on. Because you also don't know, you never know when we just.
It is such a good live show, and I certainly, I'll speak for the team here. It is so good to see the three of you back together in the studio and actually producing the show. It is just such good fun, and I think that comes back to exactly why we all do this. If things become a chore and things become very difficult, and work does get in the way. I openly admit, I think, for you, I think your schedule as regarding sort of lunch break with Here with the Magic and everything becomes such a massive part of life, and actually you have to go to work, you have to go and pay the bills and things like that, and actually that becomes a problem. And for me, I watch and I expect it for free on YouTube, and actually that's not going to put food on the table in some respects, but looking at what you've produced,
it is. Well, I think I would say that that's part of it. I think the other part of it is the sustainability of, again, going back to the quality thing. Like, I think that's that even for the Here with the Magic piece and the lunch breaks and so forth, it was really a matter of saying, is this the thing to dedicate the time to, right? And it's hard. It is hard to set aside something that is popular and that has a good following, and that people really enjoy, not just for the content, but also because they enjoy that element of the community engagement and that sort of thing. That is a really, really hard thing to set aside. But But I think that in work, in life, in art, I think you have to, take time from time to time, to step back and say, okay, what are the things? How am I adding value to the universe? How am I adding value to the world in a way that is unique, in a way that making a contribution that is truly a reflection of what I want to put out there, right? And I think for us, doing the Here with the Magic show that we were doing once a week last fall, which was just crazy, and then once a month through the late spring of this year, it was something I'm very proud of. Something that Zach and I are very proud of having done, and it is something that almost killed us. Because like the level of effort, for two people, the level of effort that it took to put that together at the quality that I am satisfied with, and Zach will tell you stories, probably over drinks that I shouldn't be there to hear about, like dealing with me saying, no, this isn't good enough. Like it's because the way I approach things is this should be like near Disney level quality. This should be something that Walt, if he saw it, would say, I am so glad that you put this out into the world, that this is something that makes me happy, that this is something that will make other people happy. This is something that really resonates with that spirit of Disney, right? That's what we're going for. But there has to be a sustainability to it. And there has to be a certain level of, hey, am I the best person to be doing this? Right. And I think that's where we're sort of settling out, is figuring out, okay, what's sustainable, but also what is it that we do? What is it that Here with the Magic can do that is different and truly special, that we think we can do better than anybody else, frankly? And that is kind of going back to the basics and saying, you know what, we're really good at showing the side of Disney that most people don't experience, the stuff that's hiding in plain sight, the taking moments to pause and take it all in. And as John would say, let the magic come to you, right? These also, like with Soundscapes podcast, like being immersed in the sounds in the space, the sort of binaural spatial sound of the places that we love. There's something about sound that as long as you're not driving, you can close your eyes and you can just kind of be there. Or you take your walk down the street and kind of be in that space. There's just something really special about podcasts and that medium that really allows people to be, I think, more like effectively removed from the sort of the world that they maybe need to escape for a moment than you get with even videos, TV, and so forth. And that's why we're also really excited about being able to go back to doing more immersive video, like the 360 and the 3D virtual reality style videos, with I think some of the tools that are coming out, which we kind of abandoned for a while not because we don't like. They still have the tools, still have the cameras, still all the gear. Just the quality isn't good enough for me. And I'm not going to put something out that's not something I think that Walt would be proud of, or that I'll be proud of, for that matter. So we're sort of in this transition time, but we're very much still, creating content and putting stuff out. But it's just a very reflective period that we're in, and almost sort of like a chrysalis sort of situation where, it's like, okay, we're going to go back in our cocoon and we're going to retool things. We're going to and then come sort of emerge again. Yeah.
Can I ask a question about Soundscapes? Because I want to ask you, Jason, do you have a favourite Soundscapes episode? Because I know I do, and I don't know about anyone else, but I want to know what is your favourite Soundscapes episode?
Oh, that's asking like, okay, Claire, who's your favorite show?
Yeah, I know. That's why I asked it. It was entirely deliberate and putting you on the spot. Have we just met?
No, I get it. I got it. So I just recorded one today that was that has been on the list for a while, and there's been the matter of some friendly debate between Zach and me, because I think we have those things, these little pet projects. There's things that he really wants to do, and sometimes I'm like, okay, I'll relent. Okay, we'll fine, we'll do it. But then there's things that I want to do too, and he'll be like, I don't know about that, right? Well, of course I win, I get to win, but it's still a conversation that we have. And the one of those was recorded this morning, and that was, I mind sharing it with you guys. It was docking. It was the docking bay. It was the Star Wars docking bay area in Hollywood Studios. Like when you go off into that courtyard of pain and misery, where like it's like half ghost town. The bathrooms are okay, but no one goes back there. There's the character greetings that they have, the Star Wars character greetings that are back there. That's pretty much what people go back for, or the Disney Junior dance party thing. I think that's what it's called. Anyway, this space, I love that space. I love when you walk in and there's the Star Wars music and there's all the posters, all those posters and the early artwork, and then there's the models inside, and then there's the little sort of makeshift cantina, and then there's the character greeting area, and there's just the music changes throughout the space, and most people don't really experience it. And I love that space so much. And I am like, I want to turn this into a podcast episode. And so doing that this morning, it was one of those moments where I'm like, I just love this so much. I love just capturing this moment. Don't always love all the guest sounds, but I love capturing these moments and just experiencing the space. Partly because, okay, yes, I'm capturing the sound, and then we're going to bring it back, and we're going to make it into a podcast episode, and that I think will be interesting to a lot of people, especially Star Wars fans. But also because it gives me an opportunity to spend time in a space, to linger and be there longer than most people ever will, and to look for these small little details and see things that I haven't seen before, and read things that maybe I didn't take the time to read. And so I also get to experience that part of it, and I love that. And I know that I'm totally avoiding Claire's question by talking about this morning.
Okay, some time to think about
so I'll tell you. There's an easy answer. I think. Okay, so there's also some white whales that like there's recordings that I haven't been able to make because I've attempted to do, but they just can't pull them off. So there's those two.
Okay, so of the published
ones, I don't know. I think my favorite. I think one of my favorites is going to be World of Color, because it's my favorite nighttime show. I really lucked out with where I was able to position. I didn't have a lot of guest chatter going on. The setup that I was using on the particular hand unit and the headphones I was using was just everything was just dialed in properly, and it's highly emotional. For me, it's an emotional experience watching that show every time. And so I can go back and experience that moment again through the Soundscapes podcast episode. I still think it's, I don't want to brag, but I think it's one of the best recordings out there of the show. And I think it does a really nice job of highlighting the surround sound nature of that show, because there are sounds that sort of happen behind you and seemingly above you and so forth. It was really great. I also got to say, like, in the same park, and this is a weird one, but this is one where I kind of just loved making it, but it's also fun to listen to. It's the Monsters.
Really?
The Monsters. Yeah, Mike and Sully to the rescue. The jazzy music. I just love the movie. I love the characters. I love that attraction. I think it's one of the best dark rides Disney's ever made. And I realized it wasn't the originally intended thing for that space.
No.
But it is so much fun. The sounds are great. To be able to just stand in the space and just listen to the music for that period of time, and then to be able to share it with everybody. It's just, I love that part of it. Oh, but then there's the Halloween. I mean, Buena Vista Street. Again, all these are California Adventure. Buena Vista Street.
I know.
Halloween,
I'm interested by that. Is it because they're not on
That's
your
a good
doorstep?
call, Claire.
Actually, you're
It might. Yeah. It could. It
subconsciously.
It could
you're
be
drawn to them because you're not. You can't just go down the road and see them. You can't just go down. Nip down and jump on the Skyliner and experience that. And therefore, the ones that you like are the ones that are
trying to record them. Yeah,
more of an emotional connection. Right, you've got to go. There's a purpose to go and do that, and therefore they've got a different, synaptic connection for you. Just saying.
It could be. I got to tell you, there's something about California Adventure though. I really, really, really enjoy that space. I really enjoy that park. And there are lots of little nice areas to sit and just experience a very different type of Disney. And the music and the ambient sounds there are amazing, really just amazing. But I got to tell you, the other thing, my favorite episode is the one I haven't made. Right? Yeah. It's always the one I haven't made, or it's always the one I'm working on. I mean, that's the other thing, is that it's the process of going through it and then getting all excited about it. And Zach would tell you, he can always tell when I'm really excited about one, because I'll say, look, I'm putting this whole thing together. Because it's not that I don't trust him. Like he's amazing. He's an amazing editor, and a very good partner in that process. But there are times where I'm like, I have this idea in my head. This happened this morning. I said, I got this. I got this one. I'll put this together. He's like, you have an idea. I'm like,
Zach's like,
yes. Plus, I just love it.
There you go. That's me. I've just created another 5 hours worth of my day without Jason giving me grief of whether or not I've done my work.
That's exactly right. Yeah, and then it'll get to like Sunday night. And I'm like, maybe I should have not.
It'd be like text message.
We should have given this one for Zach to do.
Zach, by the way,
I love it. Yeah. Zach leaves Jason on red for the whole thing. That's how it works. Ben, Becca, have you got a favourite Soundscapes episode?
Yes.
I have.
So if yours is different to mine.
Yeah. So mine is the Castaway Key episode that you did way back when. I love the sound.
The one at the cabana.
Yeah, I just love the sound of waves in general. So that one, I just find that really relaxing. And the other one is Animal Kingdom Discovery Island. I think it was.
Oh yeah.
There's a water theme here because it was raining the day that you recorded that one, and the sound of the water with the background it really makes you feel like you're in an animal kingdom in the middle of a rainforest.
Great spaces, such great spaces.
Yeah,
and there's a nice video. There's a nice there's some nice videos that accompany those as well. Yeah.
See, my one is one that's one of the very first ones, if I remember rightly, was the Grand Floridian Orchestra.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. That I could just listen to on repeat day after day. And then I really did enjoy Harmonious, which I know Claire's going like, what? But I like the music. I like that.
Now, have you seen the video? Have you seen our Harmonious video?
Yes.
I still think, again, I'm just going to applaud myself here. I think that our version of Harmonious, the video, the recording of it, is better than anything.
I like that.
That's the way you should view Harmonious.
But it's not. But it's still, like I've said this before, Disney makes it really easy in some ways to put a good product like that out there. Yeah. And the thing about Harmonious is, I think the way we did it, it's kind of like adding a little salt to something or adding a little spices. It kind of opens the flavor up a little bit. Mm-hmm. I feel like the way we showed it was the way Harmonious was meant to be experienced. That but that was the failing in Harmonious, is that you couldn't possibly experience it that way. You couldn't be in all these different places at the same time and see all the different angles that you needed to see right at the right moments. But so we put it together in a way that took advantage of, our ability to set up in 5 different spots over different, and those weren't all the same recording nights or different recording nights. And so we made a lot of effort to capture the show again and again and again. The sound was the same. And then kind of piece it all together in a way that I think reveals it as the show that it was really meant to be. So the soundscapes for that, that version, that show was, I think, was pretty good too. And the only thing I regret is that we never captured enough of the after show music.
Oh, okay.
That was unique for that. We got some of it, but not all of it. Yeah.
Where do I start? I have,
and actually,
soundscapes. I've actually had to open up my list of podcast downloads. There's 113 different soundscapes. For anyone who hasn't listened before, if you pick out your favourite sound from Disney, I'm pretty sure Jason has got it covered. If he hasn't, send him an email or send us a message and we'll pass it on. But the one which I actually think I used to use as just one of them moments that just take me back to a time and a place and just a moment is the one which is the Pandora one. And short of putting candles on that actually reflect the same sort of smells as well, it just takes you totally back there. That I think that'd be my number one. I'm going to cheat as well because the one that came after that. So if you go to bed listening to it, it kicks into the next one, which is the Epcot entrance plaza, which again is just the most amazing place to just sit and just listen to what's going on around you, and ignore the screaming child. As you turn around and go, happiest place on earth. And the other one I would put in is actually Carousel of Progress, because as much as people would like you to watch a YouTube film of Carousel, actually when you start to just only have the audio, you begin to see how clever the script for that is, and you kind of disassemble what you become used to actually watching, and you basically taking in a whole different layer as to what you actually sit in an air-conditioned carousel. But you've got the visual as well, and without the visual, it's absolutely superb. I love it, I really do, and that's.
Yeah, I've noticed that. I've noticed that myself in editing, is that you definitely hear things that you don't hear when you are watching it in person, which is a really weird thing. But it's absolutely true. And I know people, I won't name names, but there's people in our community who have said that they every night, one person in particular, every night goes to sleep listening to Carousel of Progress on Soundscapes. That
doesn't surprise me.
Every night.
It's beautiful.
That's what they listen to sleep. Just, I mean, the first time they told me they listened to the podcast to fall asleep, I didn't know how to feel about it. But then I realized it was a compliment.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
But thank you guys for sharing that with me. And I would say, don't hesitate to also share any. I mean, we're always looking for ideas. There's always things that we have not thought about. I'm sure there's little pieces of paper, strips of paper in one of your drawers that would be helpful if you have ideas and you think about things that you want to.
But there always is, though, Jason, and I think this is a nice thing. And actually, I really appreciate you talking about that hiatus kind of moment and the embryonic stage at which you go back to, because that for us is we might be 100 shows old in the next show, but we are again trying to recreate and trying to go again and trying to create something that engages more and more people as we go along, and I think that's why that friendship across the pond has been such a strong one for such a long time. So it's been an absolute delight in actually being able to just welcome you back and have a chat. As always, it's always good to catch up with you. Yeah.
I feel the same way, John. And you don't have to wait 20 years again for us to get together. You're going to get on a plane. You're going to get on a plane one of these days,
Jason,
and you're going to fly over here, and we're going to have a pint or two, and we're going to then.
I know that.
Alternatively, I could do it in 2 weeks' time.
Yeah, there's that.
It's not going to be the same. I'll
have a pint for you, John.
And that's what is going to make my next trip back there is going to be so special, because it will be documented on socials for the first time. But I am also going to go and meet so many amazing and special people. And Jason, that's that for me. I don't think I'll be hiring a car. I'll put it that way. It'll be just a case. I'll just maybe that little grass area opposite the Rose and Crown. I could go and just bring a tent, couldn't I? And just put a tent there. Or maybe not.
Perfect.
Yeah. Maybe not because maybe not because
get like a Portaloo next door.
Oh goodness!
Topical.
You see what he got in? A nice little dig that he got in there as well. Like, do like to do it. Yeah, do like to get it.
Well done.
I'm just Jason. Just a massive thank you, and just thank you for being a friend. And I will gladly thank Carlos for the fact that we keep chucking song titles in and things like that. But yeah, a big thank you for being an absolute true friend to this show. I know so many, but
it's been my pleasure.
So many people that we have been in contact with along the way, particularly from the States, we know have migrated and shared your shows, and we are very thankful for that. But maybe when we get to the stage, it's show 2. No, hang on, we need to do it Disney-wise, don't it? So do we need to do a 125th or 150th show, or maybe should we just wait for the 200th? Who knows? But in true
I'm still stuck on the... John, I'm still stuck on the fact that you're referring to thank you for being a friend. Does that mean Jason is a golden girl?
I do live in Florida.
Right?
And I have been called worse. I think
the French who called you worse, Jason. You're all right.
I would proudly be a golden girl. That's right. That's exactly right. That's like Claire, who needs enemies? That's what I always say.
We need to arrange a Disneyland Paris trip.
That's right. I think that's what we have to figure out is like who's going to do what first. Are we going to see John? And am I going to see you in Disneyland Paris first, or am I going to see you in Disney World first?
Well, it'll be our 5th birthday next year.
There's a plan. Hopefully there's a plan that can be enacted. We'll know in about
we'll do
a month.
We'll do something.
Okay.
I'll tell you. We certainly will. Anyway, I'm going to wrap up, and actually, what a great way of actually just getting to the end of 99 shows with a nice shared and collective hug amongst all of us. And as we plan for the 100th one, just without giving too much away, just join us from December the 1st for a celebration of everything that we as a podcast have done. Probably a little bit of self-congratulatory back tapping and a very British way of celebration. But we've also got some special guests and some friends on this show who've been making a little visit. I'm not going to tell you exactly what, but needless to say, guest number 99 Probably won't be there. But see what I did there. Anyway, it will be unmissable. It'll be completely unmissable. As with everything we do, we are actually already planning show 101, and I've got my own special. If anyone watches British TV, Room 101 is actually one of the best things I've ever seen.
Show 101 is
going to be brilliant. Oh my goodness, John.
That's going to belong in Room 101 forever.
Let's get rid of all the stuff we hate. Those slippy tiles, I'm telling you, we're going back there.
But I'll tell you what, until December the 1st, we'll see you soon.
See you soon.
See you soon.
No, we'll see you real soon.